This happened last month. I was 34 years old, a marine biologist, and spent my life diving into the ocean's mysteries. The mission was supposed to be just another chance to explore deep-sea ecosystems. It felt normal, but I've never stopped thinking about it since. The Solstice was anchored out in the Pacific, floating there in a vast sea of dark water. I remember the salty air and the weight of anticipation pressing down on us. The crew was specialized and focused. We were ready to document things no one had ever seen before. I had been running on little sleep, but that was the norm for me. As the sun set, I was in the control room. I stared at the data on the screens. My eyes were bleary, but something caught my attention. There was a strange signal on the sonar. It pulsed like it was alive. I thought it was a glitch, maybe some interference. But that nagging feeling crept in, twisting in my gut. I dismissed it, convincing myself I needed rest. The next day, we prepared to dive. The equipment felt heavy. I was excited, but tension hung in the air like fog. We descended into the depths, imaging uncharted life around us. As we went deeper, the lights flickered. A chill ran through me. I thought it was a malfunction, but the others felt it too. We stood silently in the submersible, eyes darting around. Strange sounds floated through the cockpit, muffled whispers and murmurs. My heart raced each time I heard them. "Did you hear that?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. They nodded but didn't say anything. I could see the unease on their faces. The sounds grew louder, like they were getting closer. At night, dreams invaded my sleep. I dreamt of shadows, dark and swirling, of something that shouldn't exist. I would wake up gasping, cold sweat on my skin. I thought everyone was having the same dreams. Maybe it was just stress, but I wasn't sure that I could see it on the faces of my crew. They jumped at noises. They looked around like we were being watched. I wanted to believe it was fatigue. I hoped it was fatigue, but it was harder to ignore. There was something out there, something lurking in the dark. Then we got another signal. Stronger this time. Fear gripped my throat. Was it an organism? The equipment started malfunctioning. My hands trembled as I tried to focus. Reality felt distorted. I wasn't sure of anything anymore. It felt like the darkness was reaching for us. Then I saw it. A figure, just outside the submersible's window. It stared at us. My breath hitched in my throat. I turned to the crew. "Did you see that?" I asked. But when I looked back, there was nothing. Only the endless dark. It felt wrong. I could see the fear in the crew's eyes. I realized I wasn't alone in this terror. The ocean had given us something darker than we expected, and it was already too late. I woke up in the submersible, gasping for air. The hum of the machinery filled the tight space, but I felt a silence that pressed against me. I glanced around. The crew was still asleep. A moment of calm washed over me, but it was brief. Shadows flickered in my vision, breaking the illusion. The screens blinked lazily in the dim light. I dragged myself over to check for any updates on the sonar. My heart pounded in my chest as I stared at the data. There it was again, the strange signal pulsing, more pronounced now. It was as if it was calling out to us. I felt a cold sweat bead at my brow. "Guys, wake up." I shook the crew, urgency spilling from my voice. They stirred, confusion clouding their eyes. "Look at the screen," I urged, pointing. As they gathered around, unease replaced their grogginess. "Do you see that?" I asked. I could tell they felt it too, and electric tension filled the air. "It's not just a glitch. Something's down there." Eli, our engineer, leaned in. "We need to get closer to it. It might be a new species." His excitement seemed out of place among the tension. I glanced at the others, searching for support, but their faces were etched with fear. "We can't risk it," said Sophia, our biologist. "Not after what we've experienced." She paused, swallowing hard. "What if it's affecting us?" I stole a glance at the dark water outside. The unknown loomed, taunting us. "But what if it's important?" I countered, desperation creeping into my voice. "What if we turn back and miss something groundbreaking?" There was a long pause. The idea of missing something felt wrong, but so did venturing deeper. Finally, Daniel spoke up. "Let us just get a little closer. Just to see." We agreed, though doubts flickered in our minds. With a deep breath, I adjusted the controls. The submersible rumbled as we gently navigated toward the signal. The lights illuminated the water around us, revealing dark shapes darting away. Then everything changed again. The lights flickered violently, plunging us into near-complete darkness. Panic surged through my veins. I fumbled with the controls, trying to get a grip on our descent. What the hell is happening? I shouted into the void. It's the power. Eli yelled back. His voice was strained. I can't stabilize it. I fought against the panic swelling inside me, trying to keep my cool. We were losing control, but I had to regain it. I focused all my energy into steering when the lights blazed back to life. And then, I saw it again. That figure. It was closer this time, so much clearer. An outline against the shadows, chilling and wrong. I froze. What is that? I whispered, my throat dry. Before anyone could respond, the submersible shook violently. Alarms blared, and the cockpit filled with chaotic noise. Brace for impact. I yelled, but my heart sank with terror. I didn't know what we were bracing for. As we plunged deeper, the darkness tightened around us. I glanced at my crew, their eyes reflecting pure fear. I needed to act, needed to do something. But all I could think was, this nightmare was just beginning. I blinked rapidly, trying to regain my focus as dark water enveloped us. The alarms shrieked, drowning out reason. The cabin shook again, and my grip slipped on the controls. Hold on, I shouted, desperately yanking in the opposite direction of the chaos. Daniel's voice broke through, barely audible above the cacophony. What do we do? What is happening? I couldn't fully process it. Every instinct screamed at me to protect my crew, but the submersible was a metal shell caught in a tempest. I adjusted the submersible's position, hoping we wouldn't crash headfirst into whatever lurked below us. Then it happened. The signal on the sonar intensified, pulsing with a rhythm that felt almost alive. Do you see that? Eli pointed at the screen, eyes wide with a mix of awe and fear. I turned to look, hoping for a moment to calculate our next move, but what I saw froze me in place. The outline had expanded, revealing jagged edges and movements that resembled something aquatic but distorted, like a nightmare refusing to fade. Reduce speed, Sophia shouted, but when I attempted it, nothing happened. The throttle was stuck, the metallic response delayed. Every second felt like an eternity as we continued our descent into the abyss. Then the lights flickered again, casting eerie shadows across the cabin. Each flash revealed more grotesque shapes in the water surrounding us, faint, quick apparitions darting too close for comfort. I can't see anything, Daniel cried, his hands gripping his seat, knuckles white. What if I cut him off, driven by a surge of panic? Whatever it is, we need to get out of here. And then there it was again, clearer this time as our lights brightened, a hulking figure, its body undulating with a fluid grace that belied its size. It hovered just beyond the submersible's beams, mid-motion like it was studying us. A chill spread through me. I wasn't just afraid. I was being watched. As I struggled with the controls again, the submersible gave a violent lurch. It felt as if something had collided with us. My breath hitched. Did you feel that? Yeah, something's out there, Eli yelled, tapping furiously at his console, trying to regain control. We have to go up. Before I could respond, the figure lunged forward, a surge of water crashing against the exterior. A powerful jolt sent us spiraling, slamming against the walls. I braced myself as alarms blared louder. But in that turmoil, something caught my eye, a flash of light within the murky depths, glimmering softly as if beckoning. Turn, turn, I yelled, desperate to avoid whatever darkness awaited us. But the controls fought against me. The screen fizzled. Panic surged again as the lights flickered one last time, illuminating a haunting visage. The creature, or whatever it was, moved closer, and I knew right then. Whatever this was, it was not going to let us leave unscathed. Hold on, I shouted one final time, gripping the controls with every ounce of strength I had as I pushed us deeper into the canyons of the ocean. But my instincts challenged the decision. We were nearing the heart of something ancient, and our human curiosity had led us here. I felt a presence. I could almost hear a whisper, although in this watery grave, it was too faint to understand. Whatever was down there had more power than I had anticipated. And then, the lights died completely. The submersible plunged into darkness, leaving us to face the horrors that lurked just beyond our reach. My heart raced not just from fear, but because I knew we were no longer in control. Something was out there, and it was waiting. The darkness swallowed us whole. I felt my pulse in my throat, each beat echoing the urgency in my mind. What now? I shouted into the void, hoping someone would have an answer. Eli's voice trembled from across the cabin. I can't see anything. I'm trying to bring the power back online. The desperation in his tone made my stomach twist. We needed those lights, not just for visibility but for sanity. I listened closely, aware of the muffled thrumming from the submersible S systems. Each tremor sent waves of dread crashing over me. What lay just beyond our metal shell? I imagined the creature from before, lurking just out of sight, as if waiting for us to make a wrong move. Everyone stay calm, I said, my voice wavering slightly. Just hold tight. My heart was pounding, but I needed to project confidence. We were trained for emergencies, but this felt far beyond any drill. Suddenly, the submersible jerked again, a violent bucking that rattled us in our seats. What was that? Daniel shouted, his eyes wide with panic. I inhaled, forcing down my own fear. I don't know. Just hang on. I tried to stabilize the vessel, but we were trapped, adrift in a watery nightmare. Out of the blackness, I heard a sound, soft yet distinct. It was a low, rhythmic thrumming, almost melodic. My body froze. The resonance vibrated through the cabin, wrapping around us like a tangible thing. It felt intentional, as if whatever was down here was trying to communicate. What is that? Sophia whispered. I started, but another lurch interrupted me. This time, I grasped the controls harder, my knuckles straining against the pressure. Then came the realization. It wasn't he, just the creature from before. There were more of them. Shapes danced just beyond the beams of the dying lights, too quick to identify, but too deliberate to ignore. Something brushed against the hull, smooth and deliberate. My breath caught in my throat. A rush of cold washed over me, and I dared not utter a sound. Whatever this was, it had come too close. Guys, we need to move. We have to get out of here. Eli worked feverishly at his console. I can't get the power. It's something S blocking the system. His face twisted in concentration, hunted. Then let us move manually. I said, panic creeping back. We can use the backup systems. I turned my attention to the emergency control panel. My fingers were trembling as I flipped switches, praying for some semblance of a response. With an agonizing groan, the submersible shuddered. The lights flickered back to life, but dimmed again instantly, the flickering casting distorted shadows against the walls. In the momentary glow, I caught sight of something moving outside the viewport. That's when I saw it. A swarm of smaller creatures, each no bigger than my forearm, gliding almost gracefully through the darkness, their bioluminescent bodies pulsing in sync with the ominous hum around us. They darted closer, intrigued. Stop! Don't get too close. I yelled, but the warning fell flat. My voice seemed to vanish into the depths. The creatures circled us, weaving in and out, creating a kaleidoscope of shimmering light that danced across the cabin. And then it happened, something larger loomed behind them, its silhouette stretching far beyond the reach of our lights. This new presence was commanding. A low growl, almost a whisper, echoed within the submersible, vibrating through our very bones that I felt the rush of fear grip me. Whatever we had stumbled into was awakening. Get us out of here, I shouted, no longer caring for finesse. At that moment, we weren't just explorers, we were prey. I slammed my hand against the manual throttle and pushed it to the limit. With a jolt, the submersible surged upwards, but the cavernous shadows felt like they were closing in, pushing back against our desperate ascent. The thrumming grew louder, more insistent, as if warning us to stay. And deep down, something told me we had awakened a sleeping giant. The submersible climbed in fits and starts, every inch a battle against whatever grip held it down. I could feel panic seeping into the cabin with every flicker of the lights. I wished Eli had been able to restore full power, but right now our lives depended on a dying battery's flickering glow. This isn't working, Daniel yelled, his voice rising with each word. We're sitting ducks in here. Stop. Just stay calm. I snapped, my own nerves bursting at the seams. We'll find a way out. But the thrumming was intensifying. The larger silhouette was shifting, moving closer with a deliberate grace that sent chills down my spine. I turned to Eli, praying for an idea. Can you manually override the systems? His hands danced over the console, eyes darting between readouts. There's a chance, but I need a moment. Just another violent jolt sent us crashing against our harnesses. The creatures outside darted back, scattering like fish startled from their hiding spots. But the large figure didn't retreat. It loomed there, watching us. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was more than an animal. It felt intelligent, like it understood our fear. My instincts screamed at me to flee, but I was trapped. The backup systems needed time to power up. How much time do we have? I asked, my voice growing tight. I don't know. Just give me, Eli shouted, but he never finished. An ear-splitting crack echoed through the cabin, drowning out everything else. I felt the submersible shift again, more violently than before. What was that? Sophia cried, fear spilling over the edges of her usually calm demeanor. Just hold on, I yelled, gripping the controls as tightly as I could. I pulled back on the throttle, but the sub didn't respond. Panic clawed at me, sharp and insistent. An emergency klaxon blared, a harsh alarm slicing through the tension, filling the cabin with dread. The lights pulsed, casting demonic shadows across our scared faces. Then I saw an opening. A dark passageway revealed itself just beyond where the larger creature had been hovering. Eli, I shouted over the blaring alarm. Can you get us to that passage? He hesitated, glancing at the monitoring systems. We could risk it, but the shell is compromised. We might not last long. Do it. My heart raced as I looked at the viewport. The large silhouette was moving again, its features flickering in and out with the light's glimmering eyes that bore into me, seeming to judge my choices. I couldn't wait. With a sharp intake of breath, I thrust the manual control all the way forward. The submersible lurched, but then surged toward the passageway. The alarm screamed as I fought to keep us steady. Just as we neared the opening, the hull groaned under pressure. An icy sensation gripped my throat. The creatures flanked us again, the smaller ones swirling in a frenzied run as the larger shadow lunged. That's when I felt it, a pulling sensation, like the sub was caught in a powerful current. Eli, I shouted, my voice raw with fear. What is happening? Something's dragging us down. He yelled back, his eyes wide with terror. In that instant, the lights flickered one last time, illuminating a gaping maw, teeth shining like daggers as the shadow lunged forward. And then everything went dark. I gasped as I came to, my ears ringing with the absence of sound. The emergency lights flickered weakly, bathing the cabin in a dim, ominous glow. I could feel the weight of water pressing against the submersible's hull, an oppressive reminder of our dire situation. Daniel? Sophia? Eli? I called out, my voice hoarse and trembling. Panic shot through me as I realized I could barely make out their outlines in the near blackness. I'm here. Daniel's voice broke through the thick silence. He sounded shaky. I think I'm okay. I focused on the faint sound of Sophia's breathing. What happened? I couldn't remember much. Had we hit something? It's the current, Eli explained, his tone laced with urgency. It must have pulled us deeper. We're running out of oxygen. My stomach dropped. What about the systems? Can we tear down? Eli's words cut sharply, each one threading more tension into the air. We need to manually maneuver the submersible if we want to get out of this. I reached for the control panel, fumbling to find the manual override. My heart raced with every click of the dial. The shadows around us felt alive. What if that thing was still out there? With trembling fingers, I adjusted the controls. Let us just steer up. If we find a way back to the surface, maybe we can. A sudden crash shook us violently. The cabin rocked, and I slammed against the wall, gasping. The lights flickered more violently now, revealing glimpses of the dark water outside. Shadows danced, and for a moment, I thought I saw the large form again, moving closer. It's here, Sophia screamed, panic in her voice. I turned to Eli, my mind racing. Can you check the sonar? We need to know what we're dealing with. He nodded, typing frantically on the console despite the dim lights. The screen crackled to life, displaying a blur of shapes swimming around us. My blood went cold when I saw the size of the biggest one on the display. It was massive, far larger than anything we had encountered before. Do you see it? Eli's voice trembled as he pointed at the screen. Whatever that is, it's circling us. Let us just move. We have to escape. I urged, my voice cracking. I couldn't let panic take over. Not now. I pulled on the controls again, this time with more determination. The submersible lurched forward, but it felt sluggish. I could feel the pressure mounting outside, and something brushed against the hull, a soft yet spine-chilling caress. We're not going to make it. Daniel started to say, but I cut him off. Shut up. We can't give up. I barked, my anger surfacing to mask the fear. Just hold on. The sub-S lights dimmed, flickering like a dying star, then went out completely. The cabin plunged into darkness, and I felt weightless for a split second before the water pulsed harshly around us. Then, a faint sound reached my ears, a low, rumbling growl that vibrated through the cabin. That thing is getting closer. Sophia's whisper broke like glass in the silence. Then I saw it, the outline of the massive creature against the faint glow of the emergency light, slowly approaching, as if deciding our fate. Before I could react, the submersible shook again. This time, it felt more like a warning. And then, I couldn't breathe anymore. I struggled to draw in breath, my lungs burning. Instinct kicked in, and I clasped my hands around my throat, trying to will oxygen back into my body. The water pressed heavily against me, as if it were trying to suffocate me. The growl reverberated again, an eerie promise of dread lurking just outside our fragile shelter. Daniel's voice cut through the panic. We need to act now. We can't just sit here. I fumbled blindly for the emergency oxygen tank attached to my side. The metal felt cold and solid, a tiny lifeline in this ocean of hopelessness. Eli, still at the control panel, murmured something about pressure levels. We're going to burst. He yelled, his voice laced with desperation. Get us out of here. I scrambled for the tank and twisted it open, praying the air would last long enough to buy us time. Daniel and Sophia were doing the same, faces pale, eyes wide with fear. I watched as their chests rose and fell in sharp, shallow breaths. We have to work together, I said, desperately trying to rally everyone. Daniel, keep your hand on the manual controls. Sophia, help Eli with the sonar. If we can just see where we're going. The faint emergency light flickered back to life for a brief moment, illuminating the panel. Eli nodded and tapped the screen. Okay, here's the plan. We need to steer toward the nearest updraft. My fingers trembled, but we had to move. Let us go, I yelled. With renewed determination, I yanked the control stick, shifting our trajectory. The sub responded with a violent jerk, and I felt Daniel's eyes on me, encouraging. That's it, keep going, he shouted. The creature was still there, dark and ominous. I could feel its presence looming just outside the submersible's hull. Move faster. It's coming. Sophia screamed, her voice sharp with panic. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the cabin, sending shockwaves through my body. The lights flickered again, this time lasting longer. And that's when I saw it, the creature, close enough now that I could make out its features through the murky water. Long, serpentine body gliding effortlessly, eyes glowing like lanterns. Is that? I began, but new terror surged through me as it lunged. No, Eli yelled, slamming his fist against the console. The sub moved in sudden erratic bursts, but the creature was faster. It thrashed at our hull with a force that sent us careening off course. We're not going to hold out much longer, I breathed, heart racing. I could see the panic reflected in everyone's eyes. The creature circled us, deeper and darker than any nightmare. We had to get out. Just then, the sonar screeched, and Eli shouted, "Cavern ahead." The glimmer of a possible escape filled me with hope. Then let us get there. As I swung the sub around, the lights dimmed once more. But just before they went out, I caught a glimpse of the creature's enormous maw wide open, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. And then everything went dark. I gasped as the darkness swallowed me whole. A pressurized silence enveloped the cabin, broken only by the frantic sound of our breathing. I fumbled for the emergency light switch, heart racing. Nothing. The cold void outside felt closer now, as if the creature were sipping on our fear. Eli, can you get the power back? I called, hoping against hope he could do something. I'm trying, he shouted back, fingers flying over the control panel, but the soft hum from the instruments was lifeless. A weight settled in my stomach. We had just lost our last ray of hope. Daniel? I turned, feeling the tension in the air thickening. I didn't need to see his face to know the fear was mirrored there. What do we do now? Hold tight, he yelled. We might not be done yet. I felt the sub shift, carried by some unseen force. At first, I thought it was the creature playing with us, but then I felt it as subtle current. There was something we could grab onto. Eli, go for the manual override. I barked. If the sonar's down, we can't rely on it. Go by feel. He grunted in response and began to manipulate the controls. I felt the sub lurch again, moving slightly, but the darkness was still haunting. The only light came from the emergency tank we had activated, casting a strange glow across our faces. Is it moving? Sophia sounded barely more than a whisper. Yeah, I replied, keeping my voice steady. We need to go with it. Whatever it is, it might lead us somewhere safe. As we drifted, a flicker of light appeared ahead. It pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Was it a way out? My heart quickened with both hope and caution. That light, we have to check it out. Wait, Daniel said, voice urgent. What if it's a trap? It could be the creature leading us into danger. Better than sitting here, I countered, feeling the anger rising in my gut. We want to survive if we don't risk something. The sub hesitated again, swaying in the dark waters as if contemplating my words. Finally, Eli steered toward the light. It grew brighter as we approached, revealing what appeared to be a cavern entrance lined with crystals glistening in the pallid glow. My breath caught at their beauty. That's incredible, Sophia whispered, the fear momentarily forgotten. But as we entered, the brilliance of the cavern was shattered by a new sound. A low, rumbling growl reverberated through the walls, echoing around us. The creature was here. My heart plummeted. We need to move. Now, I yelled, gripping the control stick with trembling hands. The light ahead beckoned, but the growling suffocated the momentary awe that we were not safe yet. But just as we began to speed toward the cavernous heart, something else caught my eye. Haphazardly scattered among the shimmering stones were bones large and unmistakably familiar. I know those, I said, feeling a chill creep up my spine. Those are from the last crew. A rumble shook the sub, and the echoes of the growl grew louder. The realization crashed over me. We weren't just in danger. We were being trapped. Then, the cavernous walls shifted again, closing in as the creature loomed closer, its glistening eyes fixed on us, hungry and relentless. What is happening? Daniel shouted, panic seeping into his voice. That I had no answers, only a visceral urge to survive. We have to escape, I shouted, eyes darting around. There's got to be an exit. But then I realized with horror that we were far from being out of the woods. The glimmering stones weren't just beautiful, something about them felt wrong, like they were hiding a dark secret of their own. And suddenly, the crystals began to illuminate with a terrifying clarity, revealing something that made my blood run cold. Something was waiting for us in the heart of the cavern. The growl intensified, echoing off the cavern walls like a warning siren. My grip on the control stick tightened, knuckles white with fear. I could barely think over the pounding in my ears. Whatever had been waiting for us wasn't just an inanimate part of the cave. No, it was alive and aware. Ahead, the pulsing light grew stronger, revealing more bones embedded in the walls, their hollow sockets staring back at us. The fear that had been building rapidly morphed into dread. They were not just remnants. They felt like a warning, a message from the darkness. Eli, I shouted, struggling to keep my voice steady. We can't stay here. Can you get us out? He didn't answer at first, fingers flying over controls, but there was no flicker of hope in his eyes. I'm trying. The currents. They're too strong. Push against it. I barked, adrenaline coursing through me. Wield whatever guts we have left. The bones surrounded us, their presence suffocating, like silent spectators to our impending doom. Sophia was whimpering softly, terror creeping into her eyes. I needed to be strong, to muster as much courage as I could. Daniel, we need to find a way forward, I said, forcing calm into my voice. He was staring wide-eyed at the depths, mouth slightly open, but finally he nodded. The growl grew deeper, vibrating through my chest. Behind us, shadows shifted, the creature stirred, a mass of darkness more than just blubber and sinew. Its form transcended the body. It felt bigger than a mere beast. It was fear personified, ready to consume us. Look, Sophia cried, pointing. A small tunnel opened to the left, obscured by shimmering crystals. It wasn't large, but it looked like it could lead to somewhere else, somewhere safer. Eli, can you swing us over there? I directed, desperation driving my voice. Let me try? But the currents now. I snapped, cutting him off. He pivoted the sub. We lurched sharply, bullets ricocheting through my stomach. The growl behind us rose, booming with rage as we veered toward the tunnel. My heart raced, each beat feeling like the last. Then, the cavern trembled. A massive chunk of crystal broke loose, splintering in slow motion as it crashed into the water nearby. Choking clouds of dust and debris enveloped us. "What do we do?" Daniel shouted, his voice tight with panic. "Keep going," I urged, sensing the tunnel ahead narrowing. "We can't stop now." Eli grunted, sweat pooling on his brow. The sub began to inch forward, but the growl transformed into a roar, a primal fury vibrating through the water, sending ripples crashing toward us. My breath hitched as I yelled over the chaos. "Push! We need to break through." And that's when everything changed. An iridescent flash erupted from the tunnel, illuminating the dark. I caught a glimpse of something inside an outline, something alive, beckoning with an alluring light. Before I could process it, something massive collided with us, a force that sent the sub spiraling, its grasp on reality shattering. In that moment, I knew the creature wasn't just hunting. It was determined to finish what it had started. I jolted awake, gasping for air as panic surged through me. The cabin of the submersible pulsed with an eerie light and oppressive silence. My crew, where were they? Daniel, Sophia, Eli. I called out, my voice trembling. "Can anyone hear me?" "Over here." Daniel's voice emerged from the shadows, frantic but alive. I turned toward him, relief flooding through me, even as I felt dread clawing at my insides. "Sophia's unconscious. I think she's hurt." I could just make out Sophia's pale face, slumped against the cabin wall, but I couldn't see Eli. "Eli," I shouted again, focusing my eyes wildly in every direction. Eli responded. "I'm here," he managed to say, but his tone was distant, strained. I turned to see him hunched over the control panel, fingers gingerly touching the buttons, trying to restore some semblance of functionality. "What are we dealing with?" "I think I saw it," Daniel panted, his eyes large and filled with terror. It was massive, shifting through the water like it was the very fabric of the darkness itself. "No more," I said, forcing my voice to sound steadier than I felt. "We can't let fear rule us right now. We need to regroup and get this thing moving." The sub lurched suddenly, a heavy jolt that reverberated through my body. "Watch it," I shouted, gripping the controls. "We need to regain control." The cabin was swirling with a dim, swirling glow, the lights flickering in and out like our hopes. "I can't believe we survived," Daniel muttered, scrambling over to check on Sophia. I could see her chest rise and fall irregularly, but she was still breathing. Taking a breath, I focused again. "Eli, pull up the sonar." "I can't," Eli cried, slamming his hands on the console. "The systems are laid out like a tangled mess. I'll need time." The growl echoed in the deep, setting my teeth on edge. I couldn't let that creature reclaim its power over us. "We don't have time. We need to do something." Desperation guided my fingers. My instincts were telling me to steer us towards the last flash of light we had seen, back when I could see the cavern's glory swarming with crystals that seemed alive in their own right. "You're right," Eli said, panic edged into his voice. "There may be some way to navigate back toward the surface. The light might be a current, it could lead us up. I'll guide us." Daniel jumped in with sudden enthusiasm. "Just stay steady and listen." I nodded, bracing myself against the controls. "Let us move." With every ounce of strength, I pushed the submersible forward. The darkness around us felt charged, almost anticipating our movements, as if something buried below was aware of our attempt at escape. With the sounds of our frantic breathing and thrumming hearts filling the air, we pressed ahead. Toward the distant glimmer, I aimed carefully. The sub tilted and trembled under the pressure, but something seemed to pull us forward, an unseen force urging us higher into the depths of the unknown. But amid that glimmer, shadows pulsed. Shifting like a heartbeat, my pulse quickened, and the growl reverberated, echoing like a sinister lullaby in the pressures of the ocean surrounding us. "Watch out," Eli shouted as my control wobbled. "It's moving. Hold on." In a moment, the creature surged past us, dragging shadows with it, surroundings tightening their grip around us while we veered into the light. A brilliant explosion of luminescence broke the darkness as we pushed through a gap, like a fragile veil lifting. My mind barely registered relief as our sub resonated against the cave's walls, casting away shadows while my heart raced with hope. But then, there it was, that silhouette emerging from the depths with a lethargic grace. I saw it again, a presence, watching us. "Keep moving," I yelled, pushing the controls harder. And just when I thought we might have a chance, The windows glimmered as the creature bounced backward, revealing dozens of smaller forms swirling outside specters of the deep. "Turn," Daniel urged, his voice shrill. "Get away." The walls of the cavern began to shimmer, responding to the threat behind us. I swerved, fighting against the tide, my fingers dancing over the control panel like desperate prayers to mechanics, but nothing responded cohesively. The sub rumbled and moaned. The creature lunged again. "Go, go," I screamed, shoving us into quicker desperation. My heart soared and sank like a stone. It pushed against the hull of the sub, relentless and alive. "I think it's adapting. It's learning," Eli shouted, desperate now. "There." I pointed toward the edge of the cavern, sensing an opening. "There's a way out." "Push." "We can't stop," Daniel said, gripping the control stick tightly with shaking hands. "Please, trust me." I leaned into the controls, willing her to respond, and for one agonizing moment, I felt it strain against the weight of the darkness behind. The creature roared, its voice rising against mine, a primal threat echoing through the abyss. Finally, in a last-ditch effort, I clawed the sub towards the vibrant light, praying it was time. We surged forward through the tunnel, water crashing around us like blinding waves until I felt the oppressive darkness start to recede. And just as we shot into the light, the sub took a heavy hit. Something collided with us, nearly knocking us back, pushing us against our harnesses. A scream pierced the air, but we were through. With a blinding jolt, we shot up toward what felt like the surface. I opened my mouth to shout for joy, but I could barely breathe. "Are we free?" Flashes of light exploded around us. As if to answer my question, the submersible breaking through the violent waves above. I could hardly see past the flickering lights as they succumbed to darkness. We found ourselves adrift beneath a heavenly sky, the vastness of stars feeling like salvation. But even as we floated to safety, the water swirled endlessly below us, leaving whispers of something ancient and watchful beneath the black expanse waiting. And I couldn't shake the thought. What had we truly awoken? I still think about it sometimes, lying awake at night, wondering if that creature is out there. The surface holds no answers, just a reminder of the unfathomable depths of our reality. We survived, but did we truly escape? I moved far away after that some days. I think I can feel its eyes still watching me from underneath as the ocean breathes softly against the shore.